starting.
Whenever you're ready.
Sorry.
I don't hear any sound, Brittany, is that?
Yeah, we're just waiting a minute. We're
Oh,
about to.
great. Okay. I want to make sure I didn't lose.
Yeah, I have just 7:30 now, so I guess we can gavel in. Motion to open the meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? Unanimous to open the meeting. Welcome everyone present and at home to the October 19th, 2022 meeting of the Harbor and Coastal Zone Management Commission. We're still getting used to doing these things in person again. If you're present in the room, the exits are to either side. And if you're watching us at home on our LMC TV feed, thank you for your interest in village affairs. We have 3 applicant issues up tonight and an administrative item. I will call first 120 Osborne Avenue, and this is the second appearance for consistency. Come on up to the podium, sir.
Good evening. My name is Tony Casari. I'm the engineer for the project. You can see my favorite slide past here. I'm sure by now.
Heard your voice on Zoom.
That's it. Tried to hide my face, but basically, it's homeowner wants to build a single family house on that lot. You're all well aware of that. I don't know how much of this you want me to go through, but I think to the best of my knowledge, I've answered the comments that were brought up by John Kelly. And I think we're at that point. I think they have to get some permits and whatnot. But we've met everything at this point.
Yeah, I don't want to rehash old history. I want to keep this moving forward as quickly as possible. Where we left it last time, the last time this came up at a work session, what we discussed was that we really only need to know where our concerns are heavily focused on stormwater, and most of what we needed to know was that the other permits weren't going to change anything such that it would cause us to rethink anything that we had already done. My only, and as I understand it now, correct me if I'm wrong, you now have the sewer permit, but I haven't seen anything about the road cut permit. The curb, I said road cut, I meant
I'm
curb
not
cut.
handling that, so I couldn't
Okay.
tell you exactly. I know a couple of the permits have been gotten. I know they're waiting for something, but what that is, I'm not sure.
The road cut is still in for review with the building department.
I think he's kind of, they might be kind of stuck because without an approval, how do you give a road opening permit? So I don't really know how it works, so.
Well,
It's just a
I think there's a way we can work with that. I want to make sure there's been some attention from the public, so I want to make sure I cover a few things.
Sure.
The site plan shows a trench drain for the driveway that's significantly off the property line and a higher elevation. I want to, this is as much for John Kellert as it is for you. Is it a problem that the trench drain next to the driveway is that far off of the property line?
Okay,
In order to, for any pollutants that may be on the lawn and get washed towards the edge of the property.
right. Okay, the reason it is where it is because I have to run it through a filter first. And then it has to go through the storage pipes. And then it gets outlet into that pipe that will run down the road through the pipes and basins and tie into the existing system. I can only go so far down the driveway. without, doing something nuts like a pump at the bottom, and you really don't want to get into something like that. So it's all a gravity system. But, and I have it at literally as low as I can go. Without, as it is, the tank that's got the filter in is about 9 feet deep, and it's mostly in rock. So, I have to balance with some common sense, where can I put this thing? So that's it.
Sure. Let me stop you on that. I want to check in with John Kellard. John, from a design manual standpoint, does that pose any problem?
No, I don't see a problem with it. Anthony located the drain as low, as he stated, as low as possible to pick up as much of the new driveway as possible. But the location of the drain is right at the top of the existing driveway that's there now, which is a gravel driveway, which is most definitely sending more pollutants onto the roadway than the finished driveway will when it's completed.
Yeah, I got that too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there elevations marked for the invert and evert from the 60 lineal foot, 3-foot diameter pipe?
Yes, that's all the inverts on the plan. I even did a profile through, starting with the trench drain, going through the filter basin that has the filter in it, and then through the 60-foot sections of pipe and all the way down to the road. So and there's all inverts on everything.
Okay.
That's correct. Anthony provided me a detail through the complete drainage system so we could see every invert and rim elevation and where the pipes are located in relationship to one another in the filter.
Okay, the only concerns I've expressed about this project since the first times we've talked about it have been about stormwater management. I think I understand the proposal as well as I need to have the record I need. My only remaining concern is that if the curb cut were to change the location of the driveway at all, that could cause us to have to rethink something about the SWIP. I would think, but I think the procedural tool that deals with that, so that we don't have the chicken and egg problem that we talked about, is to deal with it as a conditional consistency. The only condition being that the curb cut is where it's currently marked, not at some other location. If they need you to move the driveway, we would want to at least know that it didn't affect the stormwater in some way. We'd have to.
That's correct. Actually, the driveway entrance itself would not affect the stormwater whatsoever, because it's all past what I'm catching.
Shouldn't. And we're probably just being protective. It's not a condition that should arise. With that, I don't think I have any further questions. I'm gonna go around the horn and see if the other commissioners do. We'll start with Jack Lusk on the end.
I'm good.
George?
I'm good.
No
Sharon?
questions.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Ready.
Me too.
Okay, so I've said that I think I know enough to cast my vote. Sounds like everybody else does. All right, I'm gonna make a motion for that we vote conditional consistency, with the only condition being that the permit for the curb cut be in the location as marked on the current plan. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that looked unanimous to me. Do we have any nays? No, it's unanimous. Passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our second applicant up tonight is Beach Point Club 900 Rushmore. I understand that Commissioner Lusk is recused from this one and will be leaving the dais. So please give him a minute. And Jack, we will collect you when we're done talking about this one. Welcome. Good evening. And this is your first time with this project up before us at a full meeting. We've discussed it previously at a work session, but it's your first chance to present for us. So I will give you a free hand to explain to us what your project is.
Right, so I will do an overall, the whole project. I know most people are familiar with it, but for both your sake and the public's, we can maybe bring up the site plans. Good evening, my name is Kathleen Gallagher. I'm with Insight Engineering, Surveying and Landscape Architecture. I'm also here with the applicant, Randy Bruder of Beach Point Club. We were in attendance via Zoom for the work session and did hear the concerns of the board and hope to address some of those at this presentation. We've also been in receipt of two of Kellogg Sessions memos related to stormwater, and believe at this point we have addressed all of those items to this point. It's long listed.
Yeah, it takes a little time. You're looking for the existing condition site plan or which?
Yeah, and then we'll probably move to the layout into utilities and grading after that. Beautiful. I'll start with Beach Point Club is located at 900 Rushmore Avenue. To orient ourselves to the drawings, Rush North is located to the bottom left-hand side. To the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Bleecker Avenue is located, Rushmore is to the left side of the page. Bleecker Avenue is to the bottom of the page. Bluedale is on the top of the page, and Walton is on the right side of the sheet. So our north is oriented a little bit off. Beach Point owns property on both sides of Rushmore Avenue. On the north side, which is across the street on the left, is where the clubhouse is located. They also own a second parcel on the south side, which is this parcel, which is the subject of this application. This parcel includes recreational facilities, including the tennis courts, which are located on the bottom of the sheet, pickleball courts. It includes the Tennis Pro Shop, which is the building that is proposed to be removed, which is the building on the furthest left side of the sheet, and then other support buildings, which mostly support the daycare operations for the club in the summer. The proposed project includes the demolition of the existing Tennis Pro Shop, the construction of a new one-story Tennis Pro building and viewing pavilion, and the project includes updating the hardscape lighting and landscaping surrounding the buildings, as well as a reconfiguration of the parking lot. You can see the existing parking lot on this sheet, which is the hatched area. It's the hatched area to be removed. That parking lot is very oddly configured for a parking lot. It's not very efficient in the way that it's currently run. There is a bay of parking down the middle. There's some parking located on the right side, but it's not really being used efficiently for its configuration. It is currently a one-way in on Rushmore and then a one-way out to the top of the sheet. And if we want to move to the site plan at this point, we can orient ourselves to the proposal.
Would it be under layout and landscape
Yes.
plan?
This is the easiest drawing to see how the parking lot is going to be reconfigured. We are proposing to keep the existing curb cuts both in and out, and it will continue to function as a one-way. This is because although this does support the tennis courts on the site, that's not what puts the heaviest load on the parking lot. The heaviest and busiest times are during drop-off during daycare, as well as pickup during daycare. So the club is already used to and familiar with the traffic patterns of using one way in, coming in for drop off or pickup, and using one way out. So we wanted to continue that when we reconfigured the parking lot. We were able to increase the spaces from 27 to 49 spaces with only a slight increase to the actual footprint of the parking lot. So we were able to make this much more efficient for the club. The Tennis Pro building is being reconstructed in generally the same location as it was before. And the viewing pavilion is located to the right of that. All the hardscape in that area is being updated. The planting on site are native, non-invasive, with the exception of we are reusing existing hydrangeas on site, which we have talked to the village's consultant, who has accepted that as an appropriate landscape kind of sustainability measure. There is about 50 within this area of the property, and it would just be a shame to tear them out just to put something else in. So we are reusing those. And we're working really closely with the village's landscape architect and other planting things in compliance. The stormwater management practices for the site, if we want to move to the grading and utilities plan.
Oh my goodness.
The stormwater management practices for the site were designed in accordance with the town code, which mimics the state code. The project is a redevelopment with an increase in impervious surface. Treatment includes both pervious asphalt in 2 locations, which are located actually, this is the version before the latest version.
Oh, I have the more updated one.
Excellent. It includes 2 pervious pavement areas, which are located to the north closest to Bloomdale and to the left of the parking lot as well as an underground infiltration practice, which is located left of the proposed tennis pro building. Both have been expanded since our initial submission, both from a square footage perspective for the pervious as well as additional infiltrator units. There has been discussion about connecting the infiltration system overflow to the existing system at Bleecker Avenue. And when we say connecting to Bleecker Avenue, we're talking about the catch basin basically at that intersection between Rushmore and Bleecker, which is pretty far on the other end of the property. Between those 2 locations points are a row of white pine trees. And so we believe that connecting into Bleecker would actually create the removal of all of those pines, which is not ideal. The stormwater infiltration system, as we mentioned, is oversized to mitigate flood storage. And we've shown this in the updated both stormwater management reports and the plans on our latest submission. Instead of connecting directly into the Bleecker Avenue catch basin, our proposal is that the overflow from the infiltration system outlets onto a vegetated, gently sloped area in between those 2 sections. And this will allow the overflow to basically gently throw through that vegetated swale. And there will be incidental infiltration that will occur, and all of that is located on club property. Water and sewer service is pretty simple. We're connecting into the existing connections that are already within the property, just reutilizing the same connections that the existing tennis pro building includes. The project is located in a AE12 flood zone. You can see to the right of the sheet where that line is, and that's based off of the FEMA maps. In reality, though, the 12 contour is really located in a really small portion of the site that's located left of the proposed building location. So we have had some discussions back and forth about that cut fill on the property and that fill potentially or not potentially within the floodplain. In order to avoid all fill within the floodplain, since the last plans that you guys have seen, we have taken out all of that potential fill by adding in a low wall in that area. So all of the proposed improvements and the grading are outside and above that elevation 12. The project is located in an archaeological sensitive area. Therefore, earlier this summer, we did submit to the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, who stated based on their review, it was their opinion that no archaeological or historic resources will be impacted by the project. In addition, we are not aware of any local information that would also trigger any other further investigation for archaeological resources in this area. The existing, the proposed disturbance area is located mostly within the existing disturbed area, which is why we believe the State Historic Preservation Office did not believe that it was going to have an impact. As part of our application to them, we do give them a historic aerial where we can prove that The area has been disturbed at least since 1978, although it's been, previously before that. And we did include a copy of that figure on our latest submission. That concludes my technical review of the presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions from the board or its consultants.
Thanks. The first thing I have is, can you tell us any other permits you need for this project that might require you to make changes or bear on what the final application looks like, so that we need to know about it before we make a decision on consistency?
We have to go back to the planning board once we are here for a minor site plan approval, and then we do have to go to the Board of Architectural Review.
Yeah, I really meant outside the village. Do you need
We're
Department of State,
connecting to the
DEC?
existing water and sewer services on site, so that doesn't require us to go back to the health department. And the stormwater review is part of these applications.
No waterway, no shoreline, no ACE.
Correct.
Right.
And we are reusing the existing curb cuts on the property.
And historic preservation is final. Their letters, their last look at it.
Correct.
Okay, that's helpful. I'm going to move it to other commissioners, and then if I have anything else, I'll wrap up at the end. Commissioner Tobias,
I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Torres.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Are you treating water quality for the runoff from the porous asphalt?
Yes. So in the stormwater report, it has an impervious surface number that actually does include the pervious pavement in addition to the impervious pavement, but we are using the pervious pavement as treatment once it infiltrates through.
Okay, the rolls off of the impervious pavement onto the pervious pavement, rolls through the pervious pavement, and that's your treatment.
Correct.
Okay. John, is that right from a design manual standpoint?
Yes. Yes, it's fine. And they have an overflow that connects to the drainage system.
And if anything, the system, based on concerns that we've heard from Keller sessions and whatnot, the system is actually slightly oversized compared to what's required by code.
We had originally requested the applicant pipe the stormwater flows from the northern portion of the site to the drainage system at Rushmore and Bleecker. As the applicant's engineer explained, they were very concerned with the trees along the frontage of Rushmore. And to mitigate the flows to Rushmore, the applicant's engineer expanded the stormwater Coltech units in the northern portion of the site. I believe they originally proposed 12 Coltechs, and they increased that to 16 Coltechs. There's a reduction in the runoff from the property. In a 10-year storm, a 25% reduction. I'm sorry, a 10-year storm, 25% reduction, 17% in the 25-year and 3% in the 100-year. There's minimal runoff in the 1 year, which is probably 90% of your rainfall events. So they significantly decreased the water in the direction of Rushmore.
Do they have enough? Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with them. The present swale has been handling it. My only concern was at the intersection of Rushmore and Bleecker. And I initially requested that they consider replacing the pipe under Bleecker, which is a 6-inch pipe, which they obviously really don't want to replace that pipe across the village road. But my conversation with the applicant's engineer, we agreed to contact the Department of Public Works, and if they have an issue at that intersection with flooding, that we would address it with DPW.
Okay, but you're not gonna know that until after the project is done, right?
No, pretty much their flow is going to be less than what is occurring now
Okay,
in that direction. The question is there a problem now that should be addressed? And I only bring it up because it's a small 6-inch pipe. And the water from the northern portion of this project, and I believe the tennis courts drain in that direction.
okay, I think I understand the issue. Do they have enough depth to groundwater everywhere for the system they've proposed?
Yes, they do.
Okay,
I know there was a comment in that regard, but the commenter didn't realize where the difference in elevation between where the units were being installed and where the test hole was dug, which is about a 1 or 1.5 foot difference in elevation.
all right, that all makes sense to me. This is a commercial project, so it is not discretionary whether we open for public comment. We have to on this one. So I'm gonna open it at this time for public comment. Let's see if we have anyone who wants to be heard from the public. No one on Zoom?
We're not running the hybrid,
Uh,
so it may have to remain open.
I think so. All right, so unless someone else has something.
Yes, one more question on this one. What is the expected period for construction? I'm just trying to establish basically how long you're expecting the project to take from beginning to the end, during which any disturbance will be on the ground, and whether we have any management plan in place for.
We are hoping to start as soon as possible. Ideal would be this fall, and then it would run into the middle of next summer. And as it relates to ground disturbance, we would follow best management practices. We have an erosion control management plan located within our package. Obviously, before anything gets disturbed, all those erosion control measures have to be erected beforehand. They get inspected by our office and they have to be maintained through the life of the project. And then they can't be removed until 80% growth and stabilization occurs on site.
Okay. Thanks.
So we usually don't vote applicant. We usually don't vote on consistency of applications first time up. You're in a little different position because having been through a work session, you really knew what we were looking for and have been able to address a lot of it with the commissioners. My only concern is we may have members of the public that want to comment on it that haven't tonight. You're still waiting for, you still need BAR and you still need planning?
Correct, but we cannot go to planning or BAR. We cannot move, a certain forward amount with that until we have, a recommendation from each stamp. So that is what I would potentially ask is there a way to do an approval with the condition of like keeping the public comment open for 10 days? So people have the opportunity, to speak as compared to having to come back for a full separate meeting.
The agenda was posted publicly.
Yeah, the agenda was
online.
posted. Yeah, the agenda was posted. We don't really have a procedural tool to do that since we have no way to hear or deliberate on a public comment outside of a meeting context. On the other hand, to the extent members of the public are concerned with this one, the person that we most expect to hear from, we already have. We have some correspondence and while it came in late, several of us I know have had the chance to read the comments. I addressed some of them. I asked some of the questions that were raised. I think it's a posted meeting, and while we often go multiple meetings, I think the public knew it was up tonight. If somebody really wanted to say something, lived in the neighborhood, had an issue, they've had their opportunity to do so. I'm going to close the public comment session. Straw poll. Does everybody think they know enough to intelligently make a consistency determination on this project?
With the exception of hearing from Public Works about the area with the 6-inch pipe, I would say yes.
Well, I mean, that is a concern. If you, if you think you need to know that.
I mean, I can
before
vote
you-
contingent upon, but that's the only question I have.
Yeah, so just so you're not wondering why we're asking this question, we have a history with contingent consistency, and for the last about 5 years, what we've really tried to do is only ever vote on contingent consistencies where we have an objective condition that's essentially binary, that is true or false. We don't like to leave it open for if this, if that. It's consistent as long as X. That it's a useful tool, but we try to keep it to that. If we have people that still need to know whether Public Works has a problem at that Rushmore corner, then that's a thing that is probably an open item that I would call a vote if my commissioners think they need it. Cammie,
I'm fine. to vote.
George,
Good to-
good to vote. Randy, what do you-
Yeah, I believe that based on the comments from Mr. Keller, that the current situation would not be exacerbated by this proposal. In fact, it would actually be improved a little bit. If that's correct, I think I personally have enough to vote on.
And just to add one thing, that is correct. So this location of the site does not have stormwater management practices. And the proposed stormwater management practices reduces the peak flow to that location. So we are reducing, the peak flow to that area.
Okay, so I think I have a sense of the commissioners, and the straw poll is that we have enough to vote on it. Of course, if any commissioner feels like there's an open item, there's nothing wrong with either voting against or abstaining on something. So I'm going to make a motion for consistency, for determination of clean consistency of 900 Rushmore.
Second.
I'm going to vote in favor. George,
I'll abstain.
Cammie,
I vote for in favor.
Randy.
In favor of the motion.
Okay, all in favor except for Commissioner Torres abstaining due to the outstanding issue from Public Works. All right, you have your consistency determination. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time.
We have a third applicant item on the agenda tonight, 921 Soundview. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Doing quite well. You heard we were done. Our commissioner lost back. Okay, we're back in working order. Go ahead.
So good evening. Great to see you guys again in person this time. As a reminder, I am Jacqueline Tyler with Nexus Creative, and we do have the applicant, Representative Inez with us this evening. And Alan Pitch will answer all of the engineering questions. That's basically a lot of the information that's been updated since we last met back in February. So I will have Alan run through that. I would like to start, if possible, though, just to give you guys a refresher of the project.
Sure.
So if we can go to the latest architectural set of drawings.
Let me just stop you for a second.
Sure.
Do you have, you have an environmental consultant as part of your, part
We
of your
do,
team.
Beth Evans, yes.
Is she, and I see that she's not here in person. Is she on the Zoom?
She is unavailable this evening.
Unavailable this evening. Okay,
Yes.
thanks for letting me know.
Hopefully Alan can answer any of those questions. Turn it over to you, Alan, as he works closely with Beth. So I just want to give everybody a gentle reminder of where we stood in February. Again, most of the comments in February were related to the drainage issues on site. So I will let Alan speak about those, but if you look at the site itself, I wanted to point out that the purple line indicated at the rear of the property. So Sound View is to the bottom of the sheet here. You have the two residences and then our proposed footprint, the pool. So at the rear of the property, we do have that purple line, which is the edge of the flagged wetlands, as well as I'm going to loosely label it as an existing fence. The fence has been there almost for eternity, so it's loosely existing there. So if you move up to the next, it's like a whitish beigeish line. Oh, sorry, I just meant on the lines, sorry. That is the edge of the AE flood zone. So we are keeping all of our disturbance outside of that flood zone, trying to maintain most of it somewhere in the 75-foot range as a buffer. I know there was a question
I'm
on the
sorry, let
memo.
me stop you. What's the elevation on the line of the limit of the AE flood zone?
I believe we are 12.
So essentially at the corner, that describes the 12-foot contour.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Go ahead.
And all of our, and actually just to touch on that, so it's at 12 and all of our disturbance is much greater than the 10-foot above that level. So I know that there was a question in the latest memo regarding the 100-foot buffer. So I just wanted to clarify why we're indicating that. That is just the indicator based on the Village of Mamaronex's 100-foot requirement. So that's what we've been focusing on throughout the studies thus far. Okay, if you can scroll down on the sheet. And actually just, if you scroll all the way to the end, there is a site section that I would like to demonstrate.
On the top sheet, or you want to go?
No, all the way to the, I think it's the last, one of the last sheets in this whole set.
Let me know when to stop. This one right there. So yeah, so what you'll see here, so actually, yes, there it is, it's 12.5 is the elevation. So you'll see that the bottom of our structure is at 24.5 for the pool. We do have the piers that are, we have represented in the latest document, that is the disturbance. So we have emphasized that we are providing you with all of the structural information for the piers themselves, which hits the ground. Everything else is up, elevated, and outside of the disturbance area. I'd like to touch on additional information, but I'd like Alan to walk through all of the drainage information that he's been working with Keller on.
Sure.
Good evening, members of the commission. Perhaps you want to put up, if you can, one of the drawing C-102.
Under the engineering and landscape plan?
Yes, please. I think that would be a good one to start with. I think it's the second sheet that looks like the correct, that sheet right there. Thank you. So the work that we have done since we last met was to first do some soil testing on the property that was being requested for the proposed stormwater management facilities. At first, we had to come from one, but discussing this with Keller and Keller Sessions, they were thinking that probably could be split up into more than two of them in order to limit the potential for erosion at a point of discharge. That's something we did do, but I'll just say, so there are two stormwater management facilities being proposed. One to the, I guess we'll call it for the northeast corner of the house, one to the southeast corner of the house. We did soil testing consisting of deep hole testing and percolation testing. For the deep hole testing, we had sandy loam, we had topsoil, sandy loam soil, and rock at 4 feet in both holes. So what we did is we revised the stormwater management plan to use shallow chambers, Cultex C100 chambers, which are 12.5 inches high, and set the base of the chambers to be at least 3 feet above the rock elevation, as is required. And so what we now have on the plan are two stormwater management facilities, one of 8 chambers, one of 9 chambers. They both do accomplish capturing the water quality volume and do provide peak rate attenuation. We provided the stormwater management report and the calculations within it to quantify that. Also, on the plan, we requested to do, we calculated things like part of the erosion descent control plan, the amount of cut to fill that would take place, and then the questions about where soil stockpiling would be, whether it's large enough. We demonstrated to the satisfaction of the consulting engineer that it was that way. We also showed the foundation drain to where it's going to be located, how it discharges, and we have it's actually shown kind of the central portion of that property where the foundation drain would be. We're showing like a riprap pad at that location. All the discharges are well above the flood elevation too, and all the infrastructure that's being proposed is well above that elevation as well. We also show connections of utilities into the street, water line and sewer line. I know there's a comment from John Keller regarding not having direct discharge from the pump. There's a grinder, a P1 grinder pump because sanitary sewer is up in elevation from the building. Not to have a direct discharge, and what we do is provide some type of chamber within our property and let gravity into the sanitary sewer. And I think that really kind of covers most of the utility and stormwater management modifications that we've done since the last met. I will say the soil percolation testing we did, we had very fast rates. It was a fairly coarse sandy loam soil, and we had rates of it was like 14 or 15 inches per hour. But for modeling purposes, we used 3. We were just very, very conservative in our calculations. As I say, we do show that we do provide both peak rate attenuation and capturing the water quality within the chambers itself. Any questions?
Okay, I do have a few, and I guess it's going to sort of come in 2 parts: the stormwater stuff and the non-stormwater stuff. The stormwater stuff you've been dealing fairly extensively with Keller Sessions, but I have had the chance to go through their memo. There are a few unaddressed items I wanted to ask you about. They asked you for a cross section of the infiltration system that shows the elevation of the infiltration units and depth to bedrock. And I know you said that in discussion with them, you've now gone to 2 separate chambers because of the shallow clearance over the bedrock, et cetera. But they've asked you for cross sections of those. Have you done those yet, or are those forthcoming?
I think you'll actually see if you skip down to C110 to 111. I think it's not. I can't remember what sheet it's on. I'll keep going down. No, not this one. Yeah, there was a section there through. That sheet there, number 2 and number 3. I think what they were looking, I think what John may be looking for is an indication where the rock is with respect to it.
Yes.
That's how I read it. That includes depth to bedrock was the,
Yeah, that's fine. We'll just look at that based on the detailed estimate. We just illustrated, would that satisfy?
Yeah, I mean,
the question?
I'm not speaking for John, but as I read the comment, it was, we've got cross sections of what the device looks like, but we don't have depth to bedrock in a section that has depth to bedrock is necessary. John, is that what you're telling him?
Yes, it should show the existing grade. It appears certain portions of the system are being filled. And as well as the depth of bedrock. So we can see that we have the proper spacing and we meet the conditions of the design manual in regard to placement of the units within fill.
Okay, and one of their comments to paragraph 3 was examine grading along the Soundview Avenue roadway shoulder and call out the defined drainage path. Is that something that we should expect is forthcoming?
Yes.
Okay. Sanitary sewer should have a gravity connection. Right now, you're pumping it up.
Correct. Mr. Keller indicated we should have some type of, not a direct connection from pump chamber into the sanitary sewer line, which is fine. I mean, usually with septic system, we always do that. But I'll put some type of, probably like a D box, a distribution box with a single outlet. And this way it'll actually, what it'll do is it'll hit a baffle within the box itself, and then it will just flow by gravity into the sanitary sewer. So we'll just provide that.
Okay. And John, we as we often do on stormwater issues, we have a citizen comment about the Cultec systems being under the 100-year flood event. Is that accurate? And if so, is it a problem?
I thought the units were all above elevation 12. Am I correct, Alan?
They are. That's correct.
And that's elevation 12 is above the 100-year floodplain event?
Correct.
And the element 2 is well above it as well.
Yeah. Okay, so that shouldn't actually be a problem. Okay, those are my stormwater questions. The other issue that we've talked about extensively on this application at this point is the pool. And we sort of left we try to be as transparent as we can about what our concerns are, right? And as much for the viewers at home and other applicants as for you, when we have a concern about consistency, it gets addressed in one of two ways. Either we get more information that causes us to understand that our concern is not really a concern and isn't a bar to consistency, or we get a change in the project so that the concern goes away. Sort of from our perspective, we don't care which of those it is. I think applicants would usually prefer that it just be information because it's usually cheaper that way. But from our perspective, if it makes project consistent, we kind of don't care how you get there. We've been, I think, fairly transparent about what the pool concerns are. It's over a sensitive wetland area and a specified significant habitat, and it's a sharply sloping lot. So we've said we have to sort of think about a catastrophic pool event and what the consequences would be for the environment we're supposed to protect in Otter Creek. So part of that has been addressed in new information. So we have your environmental consultant's report. And at least from it's going to be a saltwater chlorinated pool rather than a traditional chlorine chlorinated pool, which apparently makes a huge difference because there's a lot fewer chemicals in play. From a salinity standpoint, if I understand the report that we got from Evans Associates, the water in the pool is significantly less salty than seawater, though sort of more than the limit of what gets called brackish. So if it all dumped into the creek at once, it wouldn't make it all that salty, and it wouldn't make it saltier than you would expect in a tidal marsh environment. And therefore, we wouldn't worry about it adversely impacting that. So that sort of the idea that all the chemicals are going to kill everything, that moves us way down the track on that. Speaking for my own vote, but it did leave me a question. The report addressed it as though that's the only thing, if you salt chlorinate a pool, that's the only thing in the pool water. I want to make sure I understand that correctly. And more to the point, I want to understand from your consultant that I understand that correctly. It is in fact saltwater chlorinated pool water really just water and a little salt, or are there other chemicals? And if so, she should expand her report. If there's a source she can cite to say, all you do with a salt chlorinated pool is you put a little salt in it, then the existing text addresses it. Other than that, if there are other chemicals that go into it, even if there's a lot less of them than we understand than we think of as traditional pools, she should address that. You should know whether the other chemicals are still going to cause a problem. But seems we're moving in the right direction there.
Yeah, and I will double check, because I know we had also submitted a memo from GroupWorks, who's the pool consultant. So did you receive that?
I did. I reviewed that. I can't quote it to you. My recollection was that it was pretty cursory. Evans Associates report was actually really informative.
Yeah, his, I think, what broke out what the pool, whether it was chemically related. And then I think, if I recall correctly, and then Beth Evans took that information to assess for her report.
Okay.
But I'll circle back to both of them and make sure that if there's any clarity that they can offer.
Okay, that's helpful. But between and it's the sort of thing where I do like to have our own neutral consultants sort of backstop me. I'm not an environmental scientist. AKRF, our Teresa Canone has submitted a report that I've had the chance to read before this meeting that says that, yeah, that's right. This amount of salt would not have an adverse impact on that environment, which is great to know. But she sensitized me to another issue, which I hadn't been thinking of. We've been worried this whole time that the danger to the environment in the event of a collapse would be the pool water. Apparently may not be the case, but the debris might be.
Right.
That raises a concern with me, and the sort of suggestion in the AKRF memo that we can sort of provide for some sort of cleanup is not as straightforward as it sounds, right?
Yeah, I actually was looking for clarity on that as well, whether or not is the debris in reference to the pool structure, or what is the debris in reference to?
Yeah, so let me just stop you there and say, so that sort of we've been thinking in terms of two things, right? What's the likelihood that this pool will have some kind of, horrendous adverse event? And what would happen if it did? The what would happen if it did got a lot better, because now we have an environmental scientist telling us the salinity of that pool is not a problem. It's not going to, it's not a bomb that will destroy Otter Creek if that happens. So that's way improved. But we need to know what happens to the actual pool if it all tumbles down the hillside. And we can't know that now because we don't really know what the pool's made of. The last information we have is from a pool guy that your clients are working with, but they haven't spec'd the pool. They're considering pool types. It's not a proposal yet. It's sort of a movement in the general direction of a proposal. Especially since we now know that our primary concern is the pool construction ending up at the bottom of the creek and not pool water ending up at the bottom of the creek. We need to know what it's made of. We do need to know what that pool is.
So are
what
you
it is, how
looking
it's
for a
built.
list of material as opposed to full structural draw? Like those are two different things, right?
Right, those are two different things. I still need, I like to speak for my other commissioners. I still think to cast a consistency vote, I need to know that we've looked at the structure of the pool and we can assess how likely it is to come down in an adverse weather event. We know that flooding and hurricanes can get very severe.
Yep.
We may have a lot of wind, we may have a lot of water moving down that slope very quickly. I think I want structural consultation to make my record that it's very unlikely to collapse suddenly. And I think we need the structural drawings for that. I also need to know what it's going to be made of, which means, pick a pool, right? Not, not maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that, but pick a pool. And if the contents of that pool collapsed and tumbled down the hillside into the creek, what would that mean for the creek?
Okay.
So yes, the answer to that is both of those things.
Okay, so just for so who's reviewing the structural drawings? Is there a consultant on board that will be reviewing an engineering consultant?
Yeah, we're going to do that through AKRF.
If I may add to this one, when I was thinking of suspended pool, instead of, in ground or over ground
Yep.
or whatever, I was thinking of, this catastrophic event just going.
Yeah.
Yes, half of the pool up ending up, in the creek, and maybe half of your loan also. So if that happened, and let's say half of the loan also goes because 12,000 gallons of water just falling in one go, will have an impact. So I was thinking more of all the management system that we have, the stormwater management system, anything else that you may have put in place might not be there at the end of that event. That was my concern when I read that.
But I hadn't thought of that, both the soil and then also possibly the loss of existing stormwater features.
Yeah, I mean, we're confident that we can design, I mean, these are, if you scroll back to the architectural drawings, you'll see these are implemented all across coastal zones, these pool structures, right? They are in hurricane related, we're talking North Carolina, Florida, where these are heavily.
Yeah, and so
I think we all can agree that these things can be designed to stand.
let me stop you there.
Sure.
That's obviously true. My first reaction to the photographs were, this looks like Outer Banks. The thing about Outer Banks is if a suspended pool collapses there, it's on nothing but sand and it goes right into
It will
the
fall
Atlantic.
straight down, is that your, right? But you also
Well,
know that.
Not so much that it falls straight down, it falls onto something nobody cares about. The sand isn't all that vibrant an ecosystem.
Right, but my point is, they design them to stand. So
Okay,
they do. I mean, we've seen structures where it's just that remaining. So, and we can provide documentation for that as well. So we have no problem going through the process. What we're trying to understand is there's been a focus on the pool, but we've gotten no other feedback about the project whatsoever. And we're hesitant to continue to invest in something where the board may turn around and look at us and say, we're not even approving a 10 by 10 structure on this site. So we're looking for some feedback from the board to understand if putting in the investment to the pool itself is even worth that, or you might, again, it's very easy for you guys to say, we're not gonna approve anything on this site whatsoever. So we're just looking for some direction to then know that, yes, we should be pulling all the resources in order to move forward.
yeah, I got it. And so this is another one of those things that I should say, not only for you, but for the viewers at home and the other applicants. And I would hope that the folks that watch our proceedings over the last few years know this by now, though you're not so familiar to us, so you may not. We really try to be WYSIWYG. We're transparent about our concerns. What you see is what you get. Your team actually took the opportunity to do a pre-meet with a couple of commissioners in advance. And I think you knew then that the major issues were a focus on the pool, the novelty of a suspended pool at this site, in this location. There were not a lot of issues about the house.
Okay.
We've been, since we first saw you in, I think, May, our focus was essentially on two things: that we have a lot of concerns about this pool, and also that the stormwater be handled in a way that we're comfortable with, because it's a steep slope and there's a lot of stormwater. We're not hiding something from you.
Okay.
If I
So
can
the
speak for
focus is
myself
the
and
pool,
say,
it sounds
yeah,
like.
I can speak for myself when I say if I had a concern that was about building any kind of structure on this lot, I would have raised that
You would have those
early
comments
and
already.
often.
Okay.
I'm not looking to ambush you with a concern that I have not raised before. I'm not looking for an excuse to say no. I've never looked for an excuse to say no on a project, right?
Yep.
I have reasons to say no if I think it's not consistent, but I never look for excuses. Every applicant comes in the door, I'm trying to get them to a vote of consistency. If I have a concern, you need to address it with either information or changes to the project. But if I don't tell you what my concerns are, you can't provide this commission with either of those things. I'm not trying to ambush you.
Okay. We're not thinking you're English, but we just recognize that there weren't other comments. So we wanted to understand where I think hearing you out tonight, we understand that it is the pool. that the
Right, I mean, there's
concerns are
not a
with the
view shed
rest of the
concern, there's not a water dependent usage concern,
Right.
there's not, we know where the wetlands are, that we've raised the buffer issues that are attendant to that, those come up mostly with the pool, whereas, we're not. The other things that we sometimes run into are not issues, it's not a SHPO issue. None of those things are in play. If we thought they were, we would have told you by now.
Okay.
We are primarily concerned. Once we've got to get past stormwater. There are 32 square miles of Westchester County that drain into the Merrimack River. And so we almost always think about stormwater. Where does the water go? How does it get there? And what does it bring with it? We need to get over stormwater. All of us have expressed, I think everyone here has expressed a concern about the pool because it's fairly novel. It's a new construction type for this area. We have some pools, but I don't think we have any suspended pools. And it's a pool that's suspended over a steep slope, which right over a very sensitive area. So we've been very concerned. We haven't not raised other things because we're so worried about the pool. We haven't raised other things because none of us has had other things on our mind. And now I am speaking for the other commissioners. We should get it out on the table if there is another concern.
Yep.
Speaking for myself, I don't.
Okay.
I would have told you.
So I want to ask this question. I'm on the fly right now, so bear with me. So I'm hearing the concern is a suspended pool. We suspended the pool in order to avoid disturbance. My question to you all is, if we were to propose a in-ground pool, which is really, again, I think I used this term the last time you guys weren't familiar with a spool, which means that it's kind of a cross between a spa and a pool. Meaning it's just it's more like a pool, but it's a shallow pool, just something that people can soak in. Really, you're not looking at like there's no diving board, there's none of that.
That's cool.
Yes, so the question that I'm raising now is, would the board feel more comfortable with something like that we know is in the ground and it's not going to be rushing down the hill to potentially impact the wetlands itself if all of the disturbance is up near the residence itself and outside of that floodplain in the wetlands area?
I mean, without prejudice to discussing it with my consultants, it seems to me that takes out of play a big part of one of the two things that we've talked about. It's a more traditional kind of construction. There's nowhere to drop from there. And that sort of takes the pool debris thing out of
Right.
play. So that's as far as I can tell you. I get with my
Right.
thinking right now.
I know,
But
it's
yeah,
just a thought I had.
we are once again trying to be, up until I got AKRF's report, I thought the thing I had to worry about was the contents of the pool. I thought it was the water. And salt chlorinating took some of that out of play, and the Evans Associates report took some of that out of play. And AKRF saying, yeah, that's basically right, took a lot of that out of play. And now I'm down to, let's make sure that we're clear that there are no other chemicals in there. I've also been real clear that, we're concerned about the stability of this kind of construction. I know it's used other places, including places that have hurricanes. It also seems to me it's often used in places where a pool collapse event, not such a problem. There's nowhere to collapse to if it's on or in ground. So that's as far as I get with my thinking,
Yep.
but that's what I'm thinking. Okay, but I don't want to, I've sort of addressed what I can address. I want to move us on to other commissioners. I'll start down the far end. Commissioner Lusk.
We've addressed concerns.
I just have one, or I guess, request. In addition to providing what chemicals or what materials are used for the pool, but also including what the weight of the materials and what the weight would be of the pool above the ground suspended.
Okay, is there something, just because I want to make sure we're providing everything, so is there something we should relate that to of information
think-
you're looking for? Like,
Yes, it would be in relation to if there's an event where it's coming down and there's a collapse, what the weight of the debris is that's coming down, that's going to be hitting the protected areas. And I know that you said that this, the structure for this, there's never been a collapse,
I
but
didn't say never.
well, I guess what a lot of these, I guess, the pictures, I just sense it, I just have a lot of questions because of the fact that none of them are on a hill and none of them are going to be having to worry about reinforcing the suspension off of a hill. So just I would just request more information regarding that. And that's all.
Commissioner Cellular.
Yeah, just my own opinion is that, you should understand that at least I'm open to proof. And I agree with the comment that was just made, but I don't think you should assume that the proposal is, necessarily going to be rejected. I think there is a burden of proof that you have that in the event of a catastrophic situation, that this material, whatever it is not going to damage an ecologically sensitive area. But to raise, just because the concern is raised and it's a legitimate one, you shouldn't assume, it's your choice whether you think, you have the evidence, you should present it. Not necessarily go ahead and make a radical, or I don't know how radical it is changed in your design, but I assume you wouldn't have come forward with that design unless, there was
The current design, you mean?
Yeah, the current
Right,
design.
right.
Without a very reasonable basis to think this kind of concern could be addressed. And you've already addressed the concern that I think was expressed before about, a bunch of water flowing down, subject to confirmation that, there aren't any chemicals lurking in there, which sounds like it's the case, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I just threw the one out about it being on grade, just think, again, you mentioned sometimes it's a change versus more information, so I'm just talking out loud, thinking it through.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want to discourage that, and we don't take it as that you sort of ask questions about what if we change our project. We've had many proposals in front of us, changed on the fly in small and sometimes very large ways. That you would float something. I won't take that as a lack of confidence in your proposal.
Right.
As Randy says, no one's told you that we're voting any particular thing not consistent. We've expressed concerns. Though I'm open to a record that tells me, the stability of this kind of construction is not a problem at all. I'm listening.
All So,
We have said we need a site visit. We
yes, we would like to schedule that.
Yeah, and I'm aware that we have not actually managed to get that done yet.
Just because I knew it was a request from the board members at the last one, so we want to make sure that that site visit, once we have all the information in front of you, we want to make sure that site visit's not holding up any of the.
Yeah, that
process.
we'll make sure that that is not holding it up. You know what homework you have to do. And I will try to circle to that within the next couple of days, so we
Okay.
can all coordinate
we'll make-
calendars.
Our team available, whatever works for you all, we'll make, if it's Saturday at midnight, we'll be there Saturday at midnight.
So I appreciate flexibility. It can be for,
Yeah.
for those of us who work busy professional lives and then do this.
Yes.
It's very much appreciated.
Yes. Good. That's what we're-
I might add, time is of the essence in terms of site visits, because once there's snow on the ground, it's gonna be really hard to see what you want to see, and we're getting into November.
Yeah, no, we should get this together in days, not much
Yeah,
longer.
yeah, I think that's why we didn't do it initially in February, but now we're running back into that. All right, well, thank you for your time this
Thank
evening. We
you.
appreciate it, and we will be back next month.
Folks need a comfort break. Okay, that concludes our applicant items. We have an administrative item handed to us by the trustees, and this raises one of those procedural things that does not, excuse me, doesn't always come up. The village has applied for a dredging permit with the Department of State. And the applicant is the Board of Trustees. Now, when the village does something that is subject to Harbor Coastal Review, it's an applicant, and all of the policies mean the same thing. And they're subject to the same standard and the same thinking, except that by code, when it is the Board of Trustees that is the applicant, Harbor Coastal consults with the board and gives our input, but the vote of consistency is from the Board of Trustees itself, not the Harbor and Coastal Zone Management Commission. So, and that's, if anybody's going, is that right? Is that in the code? I believe that's at 24029A, and you can check it for yourself. So this has been handed to us as a project undertaken by the Board of Trustees directly. That means that the final determiner of consistency is the trustees. We have something of an advantage there, since several of the current trustees have either served on Harbor Coastal or are very familiar with how we work and know our LWRP and the policies very well. So, but what we have to do within 30 days is give them our input so that they can report back to Department of State, and so that they can consider consistency. But they will centralize the comments on this, because I've sort of shortcut a step. As an applicant, ultimately, the consistency determination will be the Board of Trustees. On the permit, which is all that's actually up now, it's a permit application to Department of State, and Department of State will consider consistency at this stage, but the Board of Trustees has to give them our comments. So we now have to write, what we've done with this before, we now have to write a letter. But what we've found is that when we do letters that explain our thinking, if we just sort of say, these are the policies at play, but we don't see any showstoppers, we're never asked again. As we did with Boston Post Road Bridge, the practice has become, because it gets us heard, gets us our concerns actually out there, that we give a very detailed recitation of each of the policies that we think are involved and how we would treat it if the applicant were coming for a vote in front of us. It's a bit of a drafting job. It's because we have not a ton of time to do that, and because the Board of Trustees will be guided by our input, we should get as much of this out on the table as we can at present. So we should probably talk about anything that we think about the dredging project now to inform the drafting, and then pick a working group to actually draft. Because of the time frame, we've got 30 days to do this, and we should take less if we can to keep this moving forward. We will not have time to review this at another meeting. So because of open meetings laws, we can't sort of open deliberate outside the context of a meeting. We're going to have to circulate this as drafted by a working group, take comments only back to the chair or the working group, and then work them in. It's not perfect, but it's how we handle these things. So with that, I guess I'm going to open by saying that the Board of Trustees determination that they want to dredge again is driven by flood mitigation. And there is very little we deal with that's more important than flooding. In fact, the only policy that we could make a mess of so much that we actually got somebody killed is to mess up our handling of floodplain safety. Flooding is actually the deadliest natural disaster in the United States. It kills more people than any other natural disaster. We flood very badly. 32 square miles of Westchester County, all into the Mamaroneck River and all into the harbor. And it doesn't always go smoothly. And when it exceeds our capacity to drain all of that water, we get events like we had a year ago, September. Our critical flood hazard area is extremely vulnerable. The other side of Harbor Heights, where some of my good friends live, even though it's fairly far from the harbor, is extremely vulnerable. We have a lot of people living in households that worry every year whether they're going to lose a significant part of their possessions or their entire home. We have to take flooding very seriously. The Board of Trustees has decided that dredging will provide some benefit and is worth doing. We obviously, there are environmental concerns with it. So what we need to walk them through is how to address those. If an applicant came to us and said, we want to dredge, we would always make sure that we had an opinion from an environmental scientist, not that the cost outweighs the benefit, because we don't do cost outweighs the benefit here at Harbor Coastal. Our LWRPS policies, and it's either consistent or it's not. It's binary determination. We need to know that it's not going to have an adverse impact on the protected area. And we would get that from a consultant that the applicant supplies, but we would want to have that at least double checked by a consultant that we rely on. We would, speaking for my own vote, I would never be able to vote for a project if I didn't have an opinion of that kind. So that's my thinking, is that in connection with the permit, the Board of Trustees should express to the Department of State that they need a record of some kind from an environmental scientist that they are not inconsistent with. We stop there. There are a list of enumerated concerns in the application, for which hopefully everybody's had a chance to review. There's a list of enumerated policies that are raised by the dredging permit. The list is almost complete, but I note that 7 and 7A are not included. Those are significant habitat. And while they include 44, they don't include 7A, and 7A are most definitely in play here. We would need to make sure that that the project as proposed as to the river ecosystem itself and the banks is consistent with 7A, and 44, our significant habitat and our wildlife protection policies. The rest are less obviously in play, but my focus is on that, and I think that's as far as I'd gotten with the drafting in my own head. I want to pass this around to see if the other commissioners have thoughts on the dredging project that we can use to sort of, draft the letter that expresses what policies are in play and how we would handle them if we were going to vote on this. I'll start down the end. Commissioner Lusk?
Yeah, could you unpack this for me a little, please? If you call something a 10-year maintenance dredging, that sort of indicates that it's something you do on a fairly regular basis, and therefore it's probably a replication. If you read the letter, it's intended to do more, or maybe it doesn't. I just can't follow what it says in terms of it's saying that this is needed because there's a problem and that it's going to fix specific problems. So I'm just trying to figure out, is this a specific dredging need, or is this consistent with what the village does every decade or so?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I'm not sure, we don't have somebody from the village here to address that. But I think it's probably both of those things. As I understand it, one of the issues with dredging is that it just doesn't last, doesn't last all that long. You dredge and then the river silts up again and you lose some of the benefit. How quickly you lose it, I don't know. I'm not even sure I'm not even sure that's really the concern, especially given how critical any benefit might be to our neighbors. But I do understand dredging doesn't last forever. Take the silt out, it silts back up. So it could be that they do it every decade, and it could also be that it desperately needs done to get any benefit out of it.
So just to follow that, so I understand. So a state permit for dredging, which this apparently is a request for, would be an emergency request, a specific request to deal with a specific problem, or part of an ongoing series of efforts that this is just one of?
Yeah,
And maybe I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't really know the answer to that. I mean, it seems
Obviously the council, whatever you want to call them, nice people. They have a feeling that there's a need. I'm just trying to understand the technical underpinning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, in terms of addressing why it's needed now and how much benefit it'll provide, there's not much I can give you. I sort of, in my thinking, I don't think we can weigh sort of this is how much benefit we get out of it against.
No,
Because
I'm just curious because the
Yeah.
state takes dredging very seriously as an action and limits it. And I think the state environmental people are not looking to willy-nilly do dredging wherever somebody wants to do it. So I was frankly just trying to get some context.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in no position to say whether the state will or will not grant it, because I'm not very familiar with the standards that they apply. It could be that though the trustees want to do this, the state is unlikely to grant it. It could be they're very likely to grant it. I don't know.
Thank you.
But what we do have to do is tell everybody, the Board of Trustees and the Department of State, how we think about these things. Because they don't. We're a policy setting body in part. I mean, as you know, we're a policy setting body in part, and the written words on the page can be a little cold, and how we think about them can come out a little differently in letters and when we meet with the state than sometimes you might get the impression reading the LWRP. And if we don't explain it, nobody knows.
I totally agree with that.
George?
I think it's a very good point, I have to say, and maybe we need to feed that back to the Board of Trustees as to, is it considered as one-off emergency, whatever you want to label it, or kind of a maintenance thing, just to close that. I'm very much in favor, because dredging it's a very invasive action, right? And it brings a lot of good to the people, especially in the light of Ida that we had, the storm that we had. At the same time, it's really having an impact, adverse impact on the environment. So an environmental scientist is definitely a must in my view. just to see how we can mitigate, if there is anything we can do to mitigate the damage.
Commissioner Torres?
I see the need for it, having lived through the last 3 of the massive floods. I do have concerns about the environmental impact outside of the flooding that I would want to dig more deeply into. And I have the same question about, is this just we're on year 10 and we're just asking permission with an emergency? Are we scheduling it? I just need more comprehension with that.
Commissioner Tobias?
My comment is actually similar to you regarding these, since it's a protected area, especially like I know it's a protected area for osprey to build their nests. So just more information regarding that.
And Commissioner Cellular? Randy?
Yeah, so they have this consultant, GEI Consultants. It is, I think, made a pretty, I would call it a fairly conclusory attempt to address a number of policies, as you pointed out. They didn't address policy 7. And I guess I have a question. What do we know, if anything, about GEI Consultants? Are they well known? I guess that's really addressed to Mr. Keller. If he's familiar with them. And are we envisioning having an independent person look at this to double check their work?
I mean, if it were a private applicant, I think you and I are both looking at each other the same way. If it were a private applicant, we would have the applicant's consultant, and then we would have somebody from AKRF or otherwise who had subject matter experience tell us either, yeah, that checks out, or no, they haven't addressed all the concerns. That's what I'm fairly confident we're all thinking that we would do in order to cast a consistency vote. And so we're going to need to express that.
Right. There was a comment about dredging and the potential for dredging to be damaging to the environment. I will say I'm not familiar with dredging. I assume that there are, like a lot of these things, some sort of standards and best practices and how to do it without creating ancillary damage. But I'm not sure that I certainly could use a little guidance on that. I mean, we have statements here from this company, and I assume they're a reputable company, but the analysis did seem to be rather conclusory.
So we do often benefit from having our consultants on. We've got Teresa Canone and John Keller with us. Teresa, this is probably your moment. We're going to have to express to the board and to the state how it is we would think about this if we were going to be voting on consistency. What else should we know when we explain to them how they ought to think about this?
I would be happy to review the materials for accuracy and other consistency concerns. Something that I did notice when I briefly reviewed them earlier was, I think it's policy 35 talks about dredging specifically, and that, hold on, I'm just going to open it really quickly, for hazardous materials. And I know that DEC requires a sediment sampling plan for over 1,500 cubic yards of material, and there are provisions where that's not necessary, but I think that it would be something that you could question and look into.
All right, and where would we look to for standards and best practices to make sure that they're not damaging either the near river or riverine ecosystem while they dredge?
I would have to get back to you on a good resource to reference.
Okay, thanks. John,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
go ahead, John.
where does containment and mitigation get checked off?
Yeah, well, under 35, but also 44 and 77A, right? Because if you don't, if you don't contain the release of anything from dredging, that expresses itself in environmental damage, and the policies that impacts are 77A and 44. That's, and I mean, I agree with Randy. Their description of 44 was sort of a fly through in a couple of sentences, and like, you should be able to tell us a little more than that.
Well, the complicated issue here is the better you dredge, or the more we do, the more you can encourage flooding. Because you're running more water faster through the village. So the mitigation containment part, like where it can spread out, becomes just as important. But for sure, just dredging can be like a danger by itself. I'm sure
Okay.
that was fun for everybody, but that's fun.
But it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
All
what
right, so
we're,
if it were an applicant in front of us, we would also want to make sure that we would run that down completely.
Yeah, that's all that's the containment and
Dredge up at
mitigation
the top
piece.
end, do you just make the water move into the critical flood hazard area faster? Which, may be great if you're at the top end and, Harbor Heights by the waterworks, but we don't want to do that at the expense of people who.
Yes,
live in
thank you for understanding.
Yeah, yep, I got it.
access for the dredging, it's the actual dredging, it's the environmental impact, it's how often it gets done and whether or not this is emergency, and then it's where is this water going as it moves through as a larger volume faster through the village. Those are the breaking points, basically.
Okay, and
Thank
John or
Make sure I
Teresa, are we missing anything that we ought to be talking about?
I don't know all the details on the project. I just don't know the specifics of it at this point.
Okay, all right, so we have a letter due. We've got 30 days from, I believe, the 14th.
That's what it looks like up ahead.
But we really try to turn these things around as quickly as we can. I can put some time into drafting, but I hate to do these things alone, especially since having a co-author, motivates me to get it turned around as quickly as possible.
Volunteer.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the working group will be the chair, Commissioner Torres, and we'll turn that around for the rest of the group to look at as quickly as we're able. Hopefully, maybe right after the weekend, if we can.
You start for sure.
Terrific. Okay, so that's how we're going to address our administrative item. Ultimately, that will be a consistency determination by the Board of Trustees. But we should do our level best to make sure that they understand how we think about these things, understanding that some of them have sat in these chairs themselves and should be pretty familiar with the process. Okay. And with that, I think we have also run our administrative agenda and we can all go home. Unless somebody's got other business, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? We are concluded. Thank you for your attention, folks.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.